So Moldova has expelled 45 Russian diplomats and embassy staff. The diplomats were asked to leave. They have until August the 15th to do that. Tensions have been growing between Russia and Moldova since Maia Sandu, the Moldovan president, accused Moscow of plotting to overthrow her. We can talk to Jacob Judah, the foreign correspondent. Hello, Jacob.
Hi there.
Hi, there's a bit of a history of tension between Moldova and Russia, as we know, this country bordering Romania and Ukraine. But 45 Russian diplomats kicked out. The two countries are pretty much diplomatic daggers drawn now.
Yes, and they have been for a long time, actually. I mean, it's very well known that Moldova has been in the sights of the Kremlin and Russian intelligence for years now. And periodically there are, as has happened recently, revelations of often quite well developed spying and influence networks run by Russia in Moldova. The recent piece of news that has come out based on kind of investigations by two Moldovan outlets is surprising, I think, for three reasons here. One is the scale, two is the reaction, and then third is simply the fact that it's actually been picked up across Europe and North America, which is not usual for Moldova. So this piece of news is essentially that these two Moldovan outlets kind of watched the roof of the large Russian embassy complex in Chisinau, and what they noticed was that men, many of whom they were able to identify as sort of Russian intelligence officers, would appear on the roof at moments that coincided with significant events in Moldovan political life, so elections, summits, protests, things of that sort. And what they also noticed was that there were a large number of satellite and transmission dishes that had been set up on the roofs of the buildings, 28. In and of itself, having satellites above embassies is not unusual, but the number here is really surprising. When the Russian embassy in Brussels, for example, has only 17. So for a country of Moldova's size, having 28 would suggest that you're on an espionage offensive, essentially.
Yeah.
They also noted that.
Yeah,
sorry.
No, do carry on. Carry on.
I mean, they also noted that the wives of kind of Russian intelligence officers posted in Moldova would fly back and forth to Moscow at kind of unusual times with USB sticks and hard drives in their hand luggage, sort of with the suggestion being that these are files of some sensitivity that kind of can't be transmitted through the kind of usual radio channels.
Now, Jacob, what is Russia's design when it comes to Moldova? We know there's a region inside Moldova, Transnistria, which leans towards Russia. It has a pro-Russian leadership. There's a Russian garrison there. What does Russia want with Moldova? Is it about destabilizing the place, controlling it? How do you put it?
Yes, essentially. Ever since the invasion of Ukraine, sort of Russian influence operations have been designed to cause fear among Moldovans, should we say Moldovans sort of in Moldova proper, not in Transnistria here, and to destabilize the kind of pro-European government of Maia Sandu. They've kind of thrown the kitchen sink at it, bluntly speaking, kind of economic blackmail, funneling money into kind of pro-Russian parties and pro-Russian sort of political actors in Moldova. And sort of, part of this is cyber warfare, and Moldova is I have to stress, is a small place with very limited resources, and they're not equipped to essentially kind of fight back essentially against the full gamut of Russian kind of influence operations, and they need help from the West and close allies like Romania and the United States.
Yeah. Now, the leader of Moldova, Maia Sandu, is pro-West and pro-EU, wants to see Moldova part of the EU at some point in the future, which will obviously be seen as a red rag to a bull to Russia. But this tiny state, as you say, does it have strategic importance?
So it depends who you ask, bluntly speaking. But yes, I mean, something that I've noticed going back and forth to Moldova for a number of years now is that Chisinau has really started to turn in something to akin to sort of a Vienna during the Cold War of Ukrainian, Russian, and sort of Western kind of diplomats and sort of spies, essentially, kind of playing off against each other. Sort of the problem with Moldova, I think, when you're trying to explain this to others, is that basically Moldova's future is in many ways kind of bound up with what happens in Ukraine. I mean, when the war started in Ukraine, some Moldovans threw their hands up and goes, if Ukraine falls, it's all over for us. And as long as the Ukrainian army holds the line, then Moldova does have a pro-European future.